Wendy Eisenberg on Noise Television. Thank you for joining us. Let's get down to business. You play guitar.
Yes.
Is that the only instrument you play?
I also play tenor banjo and synthesizer, and I sing and play bass.
What was the first musical thing that you were handed or that you picked up, and why, and what were the circumstances?
I think when I was like 3, I played like green sleeves or something on the piano for a
Okay.
year, and then my mom was like, okay, and then I played the piano for like 6 years.
So you figured it out by ear.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but I think I like started by writing. I like, don't quote me on that, I guess, but like my mom taught me like a D, a G, and a C chord and was like, do that. And then I think I like went on some like tab and chord like websites or something when I was growing up.
Right.
Because like internet was growing when I was growing, so it was like easy to find like somebody's transcription.
Guitar, what were you into? What do you have an idea in mind? I want to play this kind of music, or you're just kind of letting it flow through you, whatever?
These are all really fun questions to be asked right now because like I'm always experiencing like a break from whatever I liked before towards like some other situation of music. So like to be more clear, I like wrote a random little song earlier today, and I don't know if it's good because it's unlike anything else I did so far, which probably means it is good. But like when something comes out of you, you're not like, is this good or is this bad? Like if it's like a baby or like food you make or whatever, like it's like not good or bad until you like let it do its thing.
Yeah, you have a certain kind of, you accept it unconditionally as a thing, and then maybe you rely on other people to tell you whether it's good or bad, or you just live with it yourself, and
Right.
you grow accustomed to it, or you become alienated by it.
Yeah.
So,
And sometimes that alienation can be cool. And when I was starting, I mean, my dad listened to a lot of like 80s and 90s indie stuff. Like he was really into Liz Phair. So I kind of thought that I wanted to do what she did. And I still sort of think that sometimes. And my mom's really into like Joni Mitchell. So I was like coming from this kind of like high art songwriter, also dirtbag songwriter thing. And I liked that. And I wanted to do that. But then, I got kind of like that stuff's really, I mean, Joni Mitchell stuff is a little harder, but it's pretty easy to play. So I got bored really fast. And I was like, I need to challenge because I didn't think that lyrics were hard at that point because I was like unself-conscious and in middle school.
Sure.
And so I was like, okay, so probably I need something harder. So I got into like, I guess classic rock and then stuff like television, like eventually jazz. Because everything was like, do I feel like activated by how hard this is or how challenging or how interesting or how colorful? And if I didn't, I would be like, okay, I'm not really interested right now. So it became like what's literally exciting? I need to do that rather than like, do I want this sound in particular?
Wow. That's interesting.
In some cases, like the time and focus on the things that you're critically into. But what they don't do, and I don't think that they can do, is like they can't love you the way that like an underground thing that is totally volitional, like you have to do it. They can't love you the same way. And so my break from jazz or whatever is like, it was mostly motivated by the fact that I, as like a relatively privileged, like white cis passing person, like I don't feel right like contributing to a music, with all of these things, and my own separate history that like is concerned with like another existence in that, which isn't to say that the only music I want to make is like white, like non-binary person, like egghead music, because I think that's just as prohibitive. But, if jazz has this particular role in American history and also the promulgation of American democratic ideas, I don't want to contribute to like the bastardization of that, like I just didn't, I started to become really conscious that like, actually it's really weird to me that this vital music is like constantly strangled all the time by people who look like me but are men, and like I don't think that's fair. And like that includes like record company people, probably that includes like people who write books, and
I mean this is, we're talking among musicians. There can be a hierarchy, there can be all kinds of just messed up dynamics
Mhm.
that are then again reflected in the industry, from record labels to venues to promoters to managers to the guy doing sound. I mean, it's like you can't kind of can't escape it in a certain way.
Right, yeah.
So in a way, it seems like what's necessary is a complete examination, and in some cases dismantling or completely rewriting, or I don't know what.
Like, we have to tread really lightly in a lot of ways. But,
Mm,
I can't really say, like, leaving 2020 and, like, trying to make a real change in the world, I feel personally, like, an unbelievable sense of confusion, because I don't know how things are supposed to be, and I feel like I'm inundated with so many different, often correct points of view
mm,
about, like, how things need to go, that I'm like, it's really hard for me right now to sift through any of them and, like, try to, because usually you learn about stuff in action. Like, the reason, I mean, I split from, like, jazz universe, for reasons, and I don't regret it, even though the music is still the best music in the world and I love playing it. But, like, I also split from jazz because I played noise shows in basements for the first real time, and I was like, oh, this is, like, real to me.
right.
Like, this problematic, like, often super white, often super male place is the first place that I've actually felt comfortable as a performer, because it's like anything is allowed. You just have to mean it. And, like, that's what I always heard in jazz, is like whatever movement in jazz is legitimate is the one that's done with the most conviction.
Mm,
And so the reason I'm bringing this up now is, like, within this part of the conversation, is like, if I want to do something in music after 2021 or after 2020 that's, like, live and not contributing to anything hateful, like, I want to believe it wholeheartedly. And it's been really hard for me to believe in, like, an industry wholeheartedly, because I don't think industries are like that. Like, they're not artistic like that.
no.
So I don't know where to go personally, and I don't know what to tell anyone personally, because, like, frankly, like, today in the past, year and a half or whatever, like, I've been totally lost. Like,
Mm,
because I don't want to be compromised, and I don't want to compromise my work, but I also want to live a dignified life, and I don't know if living a dignified life is actually a capitalist construction, or, like, would prevent someone else from living one. And I don't think it's that zero sum, but I don't want, like, my heart to break over that, and I don't want to deny anyone anything either. So right now I'm super lost about it, honestly.
well, I gotta say, I mean, at least you have some kind of moral center that you're aware enough to say that I'm lost and I don't want to fuck anybody over. So that's like that's a lot more than a lot of people. And I'm not saying like you should have an answer to like where are we going? What's the future of music? Because nobody knows. And I
Yeah.
think that was kind of the unifying effect of coming out of a year like 2020, and especially now that we're a year, everyone's having their, oh, it was a year ago today that I was played my last show, or it was a year ago today that I
Yeah.
was supposed to go on tour and had to cancel everything.
Um, just these, I mean, the year trauma of it all. Any year marker, your body remembers, I think.
Yeah,
And, like, the year, like, this kind of, like, letting go of a tour or whatever, which I had to do also, like everyone, like, it is what it is, and you're gone from that, and that's fine. And, like, then a year later you're like, actually, I haven't processed, like, these certain things, and that's horrible. And we're dealing with that kind of mass trauma, not just of people losing their livelihoods in the case of performing musicians, or so many other types of people who are frontward facing. Literally just, like, having your body be reminded that this isn't normal, and that, like, something was lost. I think it's, like,
yeah,
really can't be understated.
yeah. And I think there's a realization that self-care is a thing, muscles working to feel like a complete body, complete creative body.
Exactly. It's like, people in fitness probably call it cross training, but I don't think of it that cynically. Like, I just think that they all feed into each other. And
Yeah,
it's also a very communicative thing, because if I'm communicating my feelings in a song that I write alone, it's really different than if I'm in a rock band and we all have this unified vision that we're doing together.
Yeah, yeah.
and same for improv and all of it. So like, I mean, I have my solo stuff, both improvised and written, and then I have this band Editrix that's like a rock and roll band. And then I have Strictly Missionary, though the name is being teased on, which is a band with Pitsiokas and Richard Lenz and Kevin Murray and Nick Newberg. And then I just joined another band by this great drummer, Allison Miller, that I hope really does come to fruition. And, last night I was thinking, like, I really want to write simple songs, like a Neil Young thing. So I might conscript Richard to play bass for that.
Mm.
And, like, maybe my drummer friend Steve. Like, it's never really ending, but
Yeah,
those ones that I named by name or whatever are like the ones that I'm really focusing on
right.
now.
And then there's your writing, and you did some writing and poetry as well.
Yeah, I got to take that out of the thing. Because I do that and it's really crucial. But, I've been having this discussion with some people in my life about like populism, for lack of a better word.
Mhm.
I'm saying populism, though I've never ever said it like within the purview of this like line of thinking at all. But I mostly mean like, I'm curious what poetry does that theory does that novels don't do, or what song lyrics do that poetry can't do. And
Right.
like, I conceive of myself as a poet because I've written poetry and had it set, and I've like published very few small things here and there, and I work on it. But what's more interesting is like, is this, like, I feel like the best poems I write are like when I'm like rage texting my friend Sam about whatever. And then like everything comes out so much better because it's like with that white, weird heat of like the immediate. But
Sure.
when I do a poem, it's like a craft thing because I'm such a nerd that
Right.
I don't think it's as successful. So right now I'm like, am I that? I don't know.
Mm, you are. It's okay.
I should go. I got a little
Sure,
text
sure, sure,
thing.
sure.
Cool. All right. See you soon.
Bye bye.